This is the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson. I'm not going to single out any one person or firm, but I will say that a company as large as ConocoPhillips should have been in a situation whereby it is not on the hook for possibly paying billions in unpaid mining taxes to the East Timorese government. The claim of taxes, even if true against that company, could have been mitigated years before by making payments in taxes, and I do mean additional payments, or into a fund of some sort that could have been used to offset political policy changes in East Timor. The question is how and why would East Timor have been an area, a country, where ConocoPhillips is heavily invested? Why would ConocoPhillips have looked at that country and said we need to do something that's proactive now in case the government changes? The question is how and why, not if you should have done this. However, they should have been aware that change is possible when you have non-democratic regimes. Bottom line is, when you're involved in countries that have less than a democratic government, you need to make sure you have contacts with opposition leaders and prepare for the day that they will be the new government. If you're wrong and the current government does not fall, you have a nice nest egg to invest. If you're correct, not only do you have the money to pay back taxes, but also a fund to invest in the nation under the new leadership. Governments that rule by fear will eventually fall. I've always been sure of this, and history has proved me correct. The question is, what side are you going to be on when this happens? By adhering to legal dictates of host nations and the governmental policies that allows you to enter that company, you're conducting good business. However, a company that goes beyond this and gets involved in infrastructure projects, pays additional taxes, and quietly builds contacts with opposition political leaders is conducting wise business. Clearly, you do not want to upset the host nation's government, but by getting involved at the local level in anti-poverty and infrastructure projects, you're paving the way and making contacts with future leaders by simply being a good corporate citizen. People remember this, and it's very key that they remember this. If you have not lifted a finger to help, and the future leaders know or perceive that you have not lifted a finger to help, then future negotiations with these people, they're not going to go well, and they're going to be very difficult. You very well may have a tax bill or a tax situation like ConocoPhillips is now facing. In other words, if you do nothing that is against anyone but is to the benefit of everyone, you will certainly be in good standing with future leaders. You will actually be conducting wise business. If you look at East Timor's background, the country is impoverished, but it also has a $10 billion petroleum fund, which is almost entirely generated by a project operated by ConocoPhillips, which is why they're actually the topic of this particular podcast. This nation is also one that has a brand new government that, in my opinion, is stable. They've gone through 3 successive election cycles without any violence, which is something that is not most Americans would look at that and say, what is the big deal about not having violence during an election cycle? When you go through 3 in a row and you came from being a country that was ruled by dictators and you only were granted your independence 10 years ago, the 3 election cycles is pretty significant if they are conducted without any violence. This is a new situation for East Timor. So any election cycles that go through where there are no issues, each successive election cycle builds upon the stability of the government. That's why that's important. The overall lesson is that before you invest in any company or ancillary project in a foreign nation, make sure that the target business you're looking at has policies of building local relations in communities that create opportunities that mitigate poverty in the countries they want to do business in. For moral reasons and also as a way to lower political risks, when governments change, these things are essential. If you doubt what I'm saying, simply ask ConocoPhillips about their tax bill. The bill simply didn't just appear one day. Keep in mind, this bill appeared on the heels of the new government and new leadership in East Timor. Was that a coincidence? I think not. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.